In this video, I'm going to be going over how to obtain a correlation between two numerical or continuous variables. We're going to be doing this in JASP. Um, I'm also going to be showing you how to make a scatter plot, excuse me, with a trend line in in um, in JASP. So a correlation indicates the strength between two variables. The values range from -1 to 1. Just a recap of associations. They can be positive, no association, or a negative association. A positive association indicates as one variable goes up, the other variable goes up as well. A negative association indicates that as one variable goes up, or as x goes up, y goes down. And we'll take a look at that when we go ahead and start to plot some of these associations and correlations. All right, so let's go ahead and go into JASP. We're going to look at the undergrad characteristics data set. Here it is. By this point, you should be very familiar with it. And let's just start with some basic correlation between extroversion and neuroticism. So how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to go up to the regression tab. We're going to pull down correlation matrix, and we're just going to select extroversion, and then we're going to select neuroticism. And so we've selected those two, and so what we get is a correlation table. So we have both variables as rows and columns, and on the diagonal, what I'm circling right here is a correlation. So we have Pearson's R of -4.12 and a p-value of 0.01. What the p-value is telling you, it's just like a p-value for any other kind of significance test. It's telling you whether there is a significant correlation. In this case, the hypothesis, the null hypothesis, is that there is no correlation, or the correlation is equal to 0. And we can see down here with our hypothesis is that we're hypothesizing a two-sided test, or that it could be positively or negatively correlated. We're not hypothesizing a specific direction. And we get a p-value of 0.01. Obviously, this is less than our alpha, which is conventionally set at 0.05. Therefore, we would reject the null hypothesis that there is no correlation, except the fact that the alternative that there is a significant correlation. There's different types of correlation coefficients. We're just going to focus on Pearson. That's between two continuous variables. What else can we do here with this? Well, we can add a correlation matrix plot, or basically it's just a scatter plot with a trend line. A really nice feature is you can add densities for variables. In other words, just histograms with placed on each variable. So here's the histogram for neuroticism. Here's the histogram for extroversion, and a density plot as well overlaid. So that's really nice. And then we can also put the statistics on this plot, so we get a negative correlation, and we also get a confidence interval around that correlation. And that's a 95% CI, so notice how this does not overlap with 0, so that corresponds to the significance test of being less than 0.05. So that's a really nice way. Just remember, you can always save these plots as images and import them into your Google reports. So if you just want one part of the plot, like you can get rid of those other parts and just have the scatter plot. All right, so that's basically it. So here we see a negative association between neuroticism and extroversion. So as extroversion goes up, neuroticism goes down. If we threw another variable on here, we get kind of more plots, because the correlation matrix is looking at all possible pairwise relationships. And here we see a positive relationship. So as basically openness increases, so does extroversion. So those two variables are positively correlated, but neuroticism is negatively correlated with both extroversion and openness. So that's what that table is telling us. All right, so pretty easy to get, pretty easy to do in JASP. So go ahead and start working on these for your quizzes. It shouldn't be too hard.